almost time. I love that little Shabbat dance. That's pretty awesome right there. Oh wait, I want to remove that. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We'll start momentarily.
Come.
Hello, so good to see you. Shabbat Shalom. Good, how are you? Thank you so much.
Let's learn something new. Do 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 do. Now you try it. Do 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 do. Let's try it 2 more times. Do 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 do. 1 more time. Do 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 do. On the back of your handouts. Come all of you, come all of us, and bless the one who blesses. Come all of you, come all of us, and bless the one who blesses. Doo-doots, doo-doo-doo. Next part goes like this. Blessed is the blessed one. Blessed is the giver of blessing. Blessed in this moment now and every now to come. Blessed is the blessed one. Blessed is the giver of blessing. Blessed is this moment now, for every now to come. Come all of you, come all of us, and bless the one who blesses. Come all of you, come all of us, and bless the one who blesses. Doo-doots, doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo,
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Matthew Anish wrote a poem of Shabbat called Somewhere Near Forever. He wrote, "When you are asked where you are going Friday night, tell them that you are going somewhere near forever. Our words rise heavenward like smoke from a fire. As we taste a part of eternity, the world as we know it is something we can deal with if we look upwards at the heavens with awe. This special time, this Shabbat, link us with the past, point us to the way of a worthy future. Here, in the presence of one another who are physically in this room, as we feel the presence of all of our friends who are online, who I have the pleasure of seeing. So trust me, they're there. We feel their presence in this room, and we are just, I hope, so uplifted by the presence of one another as we welcome in this day of sanctity, this day where our prayers of our hearts, both in Hebrew and in English and any other language in which we feel compelled to pray, right, that they truly are reaching heavenward. We are going to begin this service, as we always do, by lighting our Shabbat candles on page 120 and 121. And I'd love to invite up Mickey and Yulia to lead us in lighting the candles. And Dublin, you're more than welcome to join them as well.
Of course.
Read this English and then do this part. Okay. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Light the candles? You want to do it?
There you go.
Do you want to do it? You want to do it with me? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'chadlik ner Shabbat.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom, thank you so much. Tonight, as we know, we have a really special service. And the service that we have tonight became a special service because Yulia reached out to me and said, you know what, let's bring some awareness to what's going on with so many people who have kidney disease, with her who needs a kidney transplant, as well as Karen, who is here today. We are so blessed that today we'll be able to hear the stories of people within our community. And I just want to thank you so much for being such a light in our community and allowing this to happen. So let us continue welcoming in Shabbat by saying the blessing, Lecha Dodi, welcoming in the Sabbath bride, page 138.
Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat. נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה שמור וזכור בדיבורך השמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה לך דודי. לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי, כמו בני עלייך נגלה לך דודי. לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. We rise and we face the doors through which we entered, if we are able, as we join in the final verse. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
And now that we're all standing, let's turn to one another and offer a greeting, Shabbat Shalom. For all of you online, Shabbat Shalom as well. We turn to page 146 and call ourselves and one another to worship.
Remember what we learned earlier? Now we're going to put it together. And bless the one who blesses. Come, come all of you, come all of us, and bless the one who blesses. Blessed is the blessed one, blessed is the giver of blessing, blessed in this moment now and every now to come. Blessed is the blessed one, blessed is the giver of blessing, blessed in this moment now and every now to come. Come all of you, come all of us, and bless the one את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. Come all of you, come all of us, and bless the one who blesses. Come, come all of you, come all of us, and bless the one who blesses.
You may be seated as we turn to page 148. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. On page 152, we come together with the Shema blessing that unites us, that reminds us that for all the wonderful diversity within our community, we are united. We're united as a people. We're united by our connection with something that is so much bigger than ourselves. I invite you to join us in this sacred prayer.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad. 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 Baruch Shem kevod malchuto, leolam va'ed.
Page 154, we join together. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'otecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'beitecha uv'leftecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha וקשרתם להות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמן. In just a moment, we will turn to page 158 for our Micha Mocha prayer. And we know this Micha Mocha prayer. It's very similar to the story that we're going to be telling in just a week and a half from now when we celebrate the holiday of Passover. The story of how our people left a place called Mitzrayim in order to go to a land of freedom, to the promised land. A place of what the Torah actually calls rachavah, a place of expanse. What we don't always spend time to think about as we look at the Micha Mocha prayer is that the word Mitzrayim, so often translated as Egypt, is actually a word that talks about Sar. It's a place of narrowness. What is it that we do during Passover when we recount the story of the Exodus? We call ourselves as individuals and as a community at large to come from a place of narrowness to a place of expanse, to open our eyes and our hearts to one another. So let's sing this song of freedom in hopes that in this coming year, we will be inspired by Passover enough to open ourselves in sacred ways.
Mi chamocha bailim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar bakodesh, nora tehilot osefele. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים. זה לי ענו ואמרו, זה לי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי ידע אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גל ישראל.
So I hope I'm not going to embarrass you too much by saying this, but there's a lot of kvelling going on about an article that recently was in the Redondo paper, right, in your school paper, about the trip that you, Hannah, and Sarah took to Washington, D.C. And in this article, I was really moved by something that you said, that you were quoted in, an article by Daniela Gross, who's also a member of our temple. She wrote it. It's beautiful.
Amazing.
And
Believe it.
what?
I couldn't, just the quality of writing was so amazing.
It was. We're all kvelling. What can we say? And in it, you were talking about anti-Semitism and how it's felt within our schools. And this week, there actually was some hate speech that one of the kids in our Torah school had to deal with. And it's really, really hard when any of us are confronted with anti-Semitism in our world. But as the article came to an end, you were talking about how uplifting it was to be in community. That at Litzhakein, at this conference of hundreds and hundreds of teens that were all gathered together, you said, but seeing a bunch of teens get together to make a difference showed me that we have a voice and we shouldn't be afraid to say what's wrong and stand up for what's right. Sorry for embarrassing you, but those words need to be repeated here, right? Because there is so much power and leadership and strength within our teens at this community and with so many of us here. When I think about the Hashkivenu prayer that we're about to say, that's what it is. It's about putting a sukkot shlomecha, a shelter of peace, loving arms around one another. It's about feeling the community come together in powerful ways at good times, but also in more challenging ones, whether they be because we're dealing with huge health issues or we're dealing with anti-Semitism or anything else going on in our lives. So I want us to think about the ways that we uplift and support one another as we offer our Hashkivenu prayer 160.
Guide my steps and help me find my way. I need your shelter now. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps. Oh, guide my steps and help me make this day a song of praise to you. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps and help me find my way. I need your shelter now. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps. Uferos aleinu sukat shlomecha. Uferos aleinu sukat shlomecha. Guide my steps and help me find my way. I need your shelter now. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps and help me make this day a song of praise to you. Rock me in your arms guide my steps.
On page 164, I invite you to rise in body or in spirit for the Amidah.
Adonai sfatai tiftach, Adonai sfatai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai sfatai tiftach, Adonai sfatai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotzeinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Vekonei Hakol Vezocher Chasdei Avot Ve'imahot Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem Leman Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah, Ata gibor leolam Adonai, mechaye hakol atarav lehoshia, mashiv haruach umorid hagashem, mechalkel chayim bechesed, mechaye hakol berachamim rabim. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
You continue silently through page 181 or with the prayers of your heart. Whenever you feel ready, you may be seated.
יהיו לרצון. אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי וגואלי, אדוני צורי וגואלי.
So in just a couple moments, we're going to take the Torah out of the ark and hear just a little piece from this first chapter of the book of Leviticus that we start this new book this week. And within the first lines of the Torah portion, there was one sentence in particular that got my attention immediately. And see if you can tell what it was that got my attention. So the verse says, "The sons of Aaron the priest shall put fire on the altar and lay out wood upon the fire." What got my attention about that verse? Where would they find the wood? Sure, we got to figure out where that's from. What? The sons of Aaron, so it's Aaron the priest, and he's kind of training his son, so it's the next generation that's doing it, certainly. I'm going to read it one more time. "The sons of Aaron the priest shall put fire on the altar and lay the wood on top of the fire." Where does the fire come from, right? How does the fire come before the wood? I don't know about any of you, but when I had a fireplace, I needed to put wood there first, right? It's kind of a strange order. And so the rabbis, of course, have a lot to say about what this is. And fire in Judaism, just like our Ner Tamid up there that we were talking about, right? Fire is a symbol of God's eternal presence. It doesn't go out. And the Talmud actually says that there was something special about this fire. It had no smoke. It didn't move around. It was a constant fire that just continued to be there because it was representing God. And yet, the Talmud goes on to say it is a mitzvah to put wood on top of the fire. So why is it a mitzvah to put wood on top of this fire? If the fire is going to go anyway, we don't need it, right? Why is that so important? To keep it burning, except the Talmud says it never goes out. By itself, it will never go out, right? It's a mystery, right? So what the Talmud says is that it's needed because when they put the wood on top of the fire, only then did smoke appear. And the metaphor for this is that God is always present in our lives. But until we put some partnership into it, until we give something of ourselves, we might not be aware of God's presence. That it takes that action, that connection, that can actually make God real to us in so many different ways. And so Vayikra, this book of Leviticus, it's called Vayikra, which means to be called, that Moses was called. And so too are we called. We're called to put that wood on the fire. We're called to make God real, just like the burning bush. Thank you, Phyllis. Yes, exactly. Lots of metaphors there. So right now, let's take the Torah out of the ark. We are on page 364. And I invite you to rise once more, because we always do that whenever we take the Torah out.
כי מציון תצא תורה ודבר אדוני מירושלים. כי מציון תצא תורה ודבר אדוני מירושלים. ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל. ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתיו כי מציון תצא תורה ודבר אדוני מירושלים. תורה, ודבר אדוני מירושלים. כי מציון תצא תורה, ודבר אדוני מירושלים. כי מציון תצא תורה, ודבר אדוני מירושלים.
You may be seated. So we are going to be, there we go. Reading these first few verses of Leviticus. There are Tanakhs back there for anyone who would like to follow along. And thank you so much, Linda, for being called to the Torah.
Close the ark.
Oh, yes.
My bad.
Yeah, of course. It's right there.
Thank you for this honor. Thank you. Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai Avarach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai hamavorach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Amen. ויקרא אל משה וידבר אדוני אליו מאוהל מועד לאמור דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם אדם כי יקריב מכם קורבן לאדוני מן הבהמה מן הבקר ומן הצאן תקריבו את קורבנכם אם עולה קורבנו מן הבקר, זכר תמים יקריבנו אל פתח אוהל מועד, יקריב אותו לרצונו לפני אדוני. ושמח ידו על ראש העולה, ונרצה לו לכפר עליו, ושחט את בן הבקר לפני אדוני, והקריבו בני אהרון הכהנים את הדם, וזרקו את הדם על המזבח סביב, אשר פתח אוהל מועד, והפשיט את העולה, וניתח אותה לנתוחיה, ונתנו בני אהרון הכהן אש על המזבח, וערכו עצים על האש. That's okay. You're good.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu et Torato
Torah
emet v'chayei haolam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you.
And I'm going to invite you to rise once more as we lift. Oops, I did not mean to do that. Let's hope Zoom didn't do something. Okay, we're good. As we lift the Torah for all to see.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. וזאת התורה, וזאת התורה, וזאת התורה אשר שם משה, וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל, לפני בני ישראל. וזאת התורה, 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 וזאת התורה.
You may be seated. Okay, so now that we've heard a little bit of Torah, this is a part of the service that is all about community, all about talking about things that are pertinent and important to our lives. And certainly kidney disease, the need for organ donors, is one of those things. I want to say before we start this that I know there are so many people in our community who have given bone marrow or who have received bone marrow, that there are different types of organ donation that have taken place within our community, and I want you to know that you are seen as well, that that is a really important conversation. But in order to have this service tonight, we focused it a little bit more narrowly. There will be more opportunities in the future to talk about different things going on within our lives. So tonight we have the blessing of hearing from 4 incredible people, 3 of whom are in this room, and 1 of whom we're going to watch a video about, and it will be apparent why when we do. So the 4 people are Karen Mishkin, who's going to be talking a little bit about her story, Yulia Kleyman, who will be talking about hers, someone by the name of Christine Gentry, who will be watching a short video about, and then finally, Linda Gren. And I want to thank you all so much for being brave enough to share your story, to be present here, to talk about a topic that really needs to have more visibility, because it is very much apparent in our world and in our community as well. So first, I would just love to invite up Karen to share her story and some teachings with us. You can stay right here, yeah.
Shabbat Shalom. My name is Karen Mishkin. My parents, Judy Mishkin and Fred Mishkin, may his memory be a blessing, have been a member of Temple Beth since 1971. I'm 53, I'm a Jew, and I'm a person with kidney failure on dialysis, desperately hoping for a transplant. I wanted to give you some information about kidney failure and why donors are so badly needed. Chronic kidney disease encompasses a wide range of reasons to describe loss of kidney function, from a mild impairment to total failure needing dialysis. How many people in the United States have chronic kidney disease? 30 million people in the United States. That's 1%. Without working kidneys, the toxins build up in your blood and you die. To keep you alive, you are put on dialysis or given a transplant. Dialysis is a treatment, not a cure. It has health consequences of its own and is very time-consuming and exhausting. 3 days a week for 4 hours, I go to a dialysis center where they hook me up to a machine, remove my blood, and filter it. Not only am I tired the rest of the day of dialysis, but the days in between I don't feel very well either. That's because dialysis only replaces about 10% of what a normal, healthy person's kidneys do. Your healthy kidneys filter your blood 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for 168 hours per week. I only get 12 hours of limited filtering. Not only that, dialysis is painful. I can get muscle cramps for hours, nausea, and I'll stop right there because that's enough about side effects. I've learned that when talking about traumatic events, it is not kind to inflict trauma upon the people hearing about it. Every time you have dialysis, it is a trauma to your body. Since I've been on dialysis, I've been to the hospital 3 times. Dialysis is just brutal on the human body. Though it varies, dialysis patients usually live only 5 to 10 years past the time they start. Because everyone wants a long, happy life, feeling their best, most dialysis patients want a kidney transplant. Again, a transplant is the best possible treatment. It's not a cure. That's why over 92,000 people are on the waiting list for a new kidney. Think about that, 92,000. The average wait time is 3 to 5 years. Here in Los Angeles, there's so many people, it's 8 to 10 years. I've been on the transplant list a year and a half. 13 people die each day waiting for a kidney. Directly receiving a transplant from what they call a living donor, a person still alive and willing to part with one of their kidneys, is the best. Not only will you not wait years, but a kidney from a living donor will work better and last longer. A kidney transplant offers freedom from dialysis, a longer life, and a better quality of life. The hope is that a transplant can last 20 years. The reality is, sometimes they last a much shorter time. It just happens. Needing another transplant is rare. It's not anybody's fault. It just happens. You only need one kidney to live a long, healthy life. People who donate a kidney go on to lead totally normal lives. They don't take medication. They can do whatever they want to do. They don't need a special diet. Full recovery from kidney donation takes a month, but donors are usually back to a desk job in 2 weeks. Donors pay nothing for hospital costs or testing costs. You don't even have to make a phone call to apply to be a donor. All transplant centers have a 10-minute online quiz, and if you pass, they will call you. A donor can change their mind right up until the time of surgery. You may have a donor who has passed all the tests, but you don't know it's going to happen until they are wheeling you into the operating room. Once you're put on a list, it's an emotional roller coaster. I've had 3 people go through the donor testing and be disqualified. That's extremely painful. People immediately think a dialysis patient will receive a kidney from a family member. That is most common. However, even if they are willing, only 1 in 5 donor candidates are actually healthy enough. Also, you can have a perfect genetic match with a stranger. So what does it take to be a kidney donor? You must be in general good health. The oldest in the US was 92, so you're not required to be young. You have to be at least 18. If your family members are not able, where do kidney failure patients turn? The answer is anywhere they can. Friends, coworkers, and then there's the search for who are called altruistic donors. Finding an amazing person selfless enough to donate to a stranger. We are all familiar with Tikkun Olam, bringing healing to a broken world. Kidney donation is bringing healing to a sick, broken person whose kidney failure is an attempt to return them to health. A kidney donation is the gift of life, as today's subject says. It's the biggest mitzvah I can possibly think of. Dialysis is not just hard on the patient, it's hard for their family and their friends watching them suffer. I want to take this opportunity to apologize to my family because I didn't understand until you told me how hard it was for you to watch me and listen to me say how awful it was. I'm sorry. I didn't know. Kidney failure doesn't just happen to the patient, it happens to everyone connected to them. But I and other patients know that there is hope. There are people out there willing to help us. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have about donation because there's a lot I couldn't say in 5 minutes. 92,000 of us are waiting for someone to hear our plea for help and a better life and answer it with enormous generosity, because it does happen. All it takes is one person. Please consider becoming a living donor, making sure your loved ones know you want to be an organ donor once your life's journey is over, or just talking about it to others. One organ donor can save 8 lives. A final fact, of all the altruistic kidney donors in the United States matched with a stranger, approximately 17% of them are Jewish. Thank you for your time listening, and to the Rabbi for allowing me to speak during this holy service. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm so grateful for you doing this. I know that you went through dialysis today, so having the strength to do this and come up here tonight took a lot. So thank you. Thank you so much. I'd like to invite up Yulia to talk about her journey as well.
Hello, Shabbat Shalom. For those of you I haven't met yet, I'm Yulia, and I'm here today with my family, with my wife Devlin and my daughter Mickey. We're members here at TBE. You may have seen Mickey running around Torah school on a Sunday during the service. And I wanted to tell you a little bit today just about what we're dealing with and what we're looking for. And it's really nice to see all your faces. So I wanted to tell you about kidney disease a little bit. I got diagnosed with kidney disease first when I was 17 years old. And I went through my first bout with kidney failure when I was in my late 20s. And at that time, about 10 years ago, I got a transplant through an exchange. I was really blessed to have a living donor. I had about 30 different people test to try to become a living donor. Almost all were disqualified for underlying health issues, a lot of which the potential donors didn't even know about, but we ended up going into something called kidney exchange, paired exchange program with myself, my spouse, my mom, and my good friend Christine, who you will meet by video shortly. And I was really lucky, and none of those people were eligible to be donors, but they couldn't donate directly to me because we were not a good genetic match. And I was lucky. My mom received an offer to do a paired exchange, so her kidney went to a gentleman in the same hospital in Boston where we were, and I got my kidney from a stranger in Pittsburgh. And my friend Christine, who you'll meet on video, got to become an altruistic donor. So because she couldn't donate to me, she chose to go ahead with the donation anyway. And she donated to a stranger, and she set off a chain that ended up in, I think now, 56 transplants, which is, I think, a real miracle. And she's amazing, so I'm glad you guys will get to see her face today. I am unfortunately now again in kidney failure. My transplant lasted 10 years, which is about average. And now, due to the medication that you have to take to prevent kidney rejection, the kidney developed a lot of scarring and is now functioning at below 9% now. So I'm now looking for another kidney, and I'm hoping for another living donor. Why a living donor? Like, I think Karen really kind of went over all of the basics, but really it's a matter of a really long waiting time and needing to be on dialysis during that time. People over time, their dialysis deteriorates other systems of the body. Can't be on dialysis forever, and many, many people unfortunately die waiting for kidneys. So with living donors, obviously shortens the waiting time quite a bit, and it improves outcomes. Living donor kidneys, on average, last a lot longer in the recipient's body than kidneys from deceased donors. And I'm also looking to kind of, lighten the burden on my family. Caretaking for people with kidney disease is really difficult and really challenging. The first time around, my wife was my dialysis nurse for the 10 months that I needed to be on dialysis, so she had to, essentially stop working, and I had to stop working, and then, we had to move in with my parents, and it takes a whole team of people to support one person. So I'm looking forward to alleviating that for my family. I'm praying for Karen and Karen's family as well. And I am looking very much forward to seeing my Mickey grow up. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the donor experience. So my mom is a donor. She wasn't able to be here tonight, but she's available for questions if anyone wants to talk about what it's like to be a donor. And my friend Christine can also answer questions, and we have like a bench of folks available to answer questions about what it's like to be a donor. But the basic requirements are good health, so good current health and a pretty clean health history. And the process of being a donor is something that you can take on. I don't want to say you could take it on lightly, but it's easy to start. The first steps are just an inquiry, and the first multiple steps are really just about receiving information about what it's like to be a donor, about your own health, and going through rigorous health testing to make sure that you are well enough to qualify. And at any point in the process, you as an interested party can say, you know what, this is not for me, right? All the way up to the point where they wheel you into the operating room. Even at that point, you still have the right of refusal. So even if you're just curious or think it's something you might consider, it's worth checking into the requirements and talking to UNOS or to the hospital where, if you want to be a direct donor to somebody that you've heard of or that you know, talking to the hospital where they're registered. Or you could talk to the person themselves, their family, but you don't have to. You don't have to let anyone know that you're interested in testing to become a donor. You can just talk directly to one of the organ donation programs or the hospital where your intended recipient is getting care. And that way you can, if you can maintain your privacy as well if you choose to do that. So there are lots of options and lots of ways to make an inquiry. And with that, I want to introduce you to my friend Christine, who she and I were both high school teachers, colleagues in the Boston Public Schools when we met. And since then, she has become this donor angel and this great public speaker for the cause of kidney donation. And just wanted you to kind of see her face and see the face of a living kidney donor. And thank you very much, and Shabbat Shalom.
So if you focus your attention on the screens, then you'll get a chance to meet Christine.
A friend of mine who said, I'm dying. Over 100 of my friends and family have already tried to donate their kidney to me, but each have been rejected, and so this is my last resort. I'm posting on Facebook to see if there's anyone I'm connected to who would be willing.
She just felt really called to do this.
And I was lucky, I got approved because I was healthy enough to donate, but she and I as a pair were not as lucky because we were not a direct match. And that's when I learned that there was this national kidney swap registry option where she and I could go in as an incompatible donor recipient pair, and the computer would figure out if there's somebody else in the country that I could give my kidney to, so that further down this swap chain, my friend Julia would get one from someone else. And at the very last minute, Julia's mother was approved to donate to Julia, and the computer immediately found a chain that would work out so that she could receive a kidney, and mine wasn't needed. And a couple years after her transplant, she got pregnant, she had a baby, and the first time I saw the picture of the child, it was like, oh my God, I have to do this for someone, right? Like, the only reason that this life exists is because somebody was willing to donate their kidney to my friend Julia. I wanted to donate, this time as a Good Samaritan or non-directed donor, and start a chain of my own. And then the computer had a chain of 16 surgeries, right? 8 recipients. People from my chain are here, so I'm going to try to hold it together. About a year after my donation, I was invited to give a talk at the hospital. My mom flew in, she's going to be with me the night before the surgery. And I remember we sat on my bed, and she held my hands, and she said this beautiful prayer. And I still had a little bit of anxiety, and she said, you need to come up with something, some kind of mental place to go to, where you could feel like you can see these people, right? And so I came up with this haven that was this plaza in Barcelona, one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. And there was this orange flowered tree and this fountain in the middle with this turquoise water, and I decided that that would be the place I would go when I was nervous. I'd close my eyes, turn the corner, and then I would see these 8 recipients, right? I gave them faces and bodies, and they would be sitting there around the fountain waiting for me to do this hard thing, for them. In 2012, I never felt that nervousness because I would just look at my friend Julia, right? And be like, oh yes, there's this palpable person who needs me right now. So I came up with this haven and just closed my eyes and see those 8 people. And I rolled into the operating room having never been more sure of anything. But I'm also not here tonight to lie to you. And the first few days of recovery were really hard. When they had to take the IV out and replace it with an oral version of the drug, my stomach was not having it. I puke all over myself, right? Because I can't really move, And I'm puking and crying, and I'm telling my mom, like, I don't want to regret this, Mama. And she took this washcloth, and she was wiping my face. She goes, Christine, you will not regret this. She was so encouraging. And then when they finally took my catheter out and I could take a shower, and I was so excited about it, I couldn't do it by myself. And it was my mom who walked me to the shower, and she closed the shower curtain, and she got in there with me. And she bathed me so gently. She was like, Christine, it's just like when you were a baby. And then I went home, and my friends had made all of this food, and my students had made these homemade cards, and I just felt so loved and supported. And I just kept thinking about these 8 people, right? This 16-person chain that I just felt so honored to be a part of. And then they called me. Joe from the National Kidney Registry called me, and he said, Christine, the chain that you started kept going. It is 56 surgeries long. Like, you have pulled 28 people off of the wait list. And the first thing I thought of was like, that's more people than could ever fit around that fountain. I would have needed a different fountain. And he said that, it'd be such an honor if you came to speak at our gala in New York. And I remember telling him, like, absolutely, as long as I can bring my mom. So, thank you.
Pretty amazing story, right? I'm getting teary-eyed, and I've already watched it 3 times. But how much power is in that, right? We're going to hear from one more incredible person in our community, Linda Gren. And Linda is a caretaker because her husband received a transplant. And Linda, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story as well.
Shabbat Shalom. I have been really touched by what I have learned here tonight, what I have heard here tonight. First, I'd like to thank the Rabbi so much for allowing an evening like this to happen. And I would like to thank the 3 women, and the 2 of you, for being so brave and for sharing your stories. It is an incredible journey to be a kidney patient. It is not an easy journey, it's a difficult journey. And having your family and your friends be part of that, there's nothing you can say that doesn't make you feel like you're loved when you have your family and friends as you do tonight surrounding you. My story is a little bit different because I was not the patient, I was the caregiver. And Bill, my husband, and some of you have known him, he was 20 years old when they diagnosed him. And the doctor said, first he said, by the age of 40, your kidneys will shut down, just letting you know, and we will watch you, and don't have children. Well, that wasn't something that Bill and I wanted to even think about, not having children. I have 2 wonderful sons. One is approaching the age, knocking on the door of 40, and the other one is right behind him at 38. And so far, they are fine. So even though his kidney disease was hereditary, so far we've been blessed by God to not have that be an issue. They have as much or more of me in them than they did of him. So I'm here to share with you tonight how our transplant transpired and what it did for us as a family. So being a family of a kidney dialysis patient, as been expressed here tonight, is difficult. And having 2 little boys, one that was 10 and one that was 8, was difficult. We would make plans, they would be canceled. And so it was hard for the boys. But our transplant story and journey started when, on Father's Day, we went camping. We were in Doheny Beach. Things were much different then, so when we got our call, We had this little tiny box that was a lot like you used to get in a restaurant that would beep when your table was ready, because cell phones weren't a thing at that time, at least not to the extent that they are today. So we were camping, and we got the call, and we just threw everything into our Volkswagen van, including our children, and I couldn't have asked for a better time, actually, because I had all their clothes, I had all their toys, I had their bikes. So I was very over-prepared. I would never have been that prepared had we just gotten that same call at home. So we trekked off to Loma Linda from Doheny. It was the same weekend as OJ was on the highway, and, so it was all very interesting. The side effect of that was, with these two little boys, there was no electronic like TV to watch, because everything was all OJ that weekend. So we got to Loma Linda, and Bill's best friend was there. He got there before we did. This is where friends and family come in. He made all the arrangements for a hotel for us, for myself and for the boys, and he left his family Father's Day as well, and sat with me all night during the surgery. And the surgery went well. Everything was fine as far as we knew. And understand that none of this is perfect science, right? So that's why things change. But anyway, we got the word that the surgery was fine. And the next day, my brother came to get, again, where family comes in, came to get these two little boys, my sons, so they didn't have to, and they were headed, one to Swig, which is the predecessor of Newman, and the other one went to Hilltop. And so he got them both where they were going for the summertime. And after they left, we found out that Bill's kidney just wasn't kicking in. And it's true, his kidney was from a non-living donor. So it takes a little longer sometimes, and living donors were not what they are today. They are so much, a much stronger community to get a donation from than they were at that time. So his kidney wasn't kicking in, and after the second day, he said to the doctor, and any of you that ever knew Bill or remember, he had a very dry sense of humor, and he said, "Doc, do you think maybe the red one wasn't hooked up to the red hose and that the blue hose wasn't hooked up to the blue hose?" Well, the doctor heard him, and they actually went back and looked to see if that might have been the issue. It was not that. However, there was a kink in the artery. And so back into surgery again he went, and they corrected it, and he was fine until he wasn't, because after that, a couple of weeks later, his body was rejecting the new kidney. And they did everything to find out why, and the immunosuppressant just wasn't working. So they put him on a brand new, barely out of the box immunosuppressant that was really being looked at for liver transplant. It didn't even have a name. It was called FK506. That was just a number. And it worked. It was a much stronger immunosuppressant. It worked. And we were fine. The summer came to an end. The boys came home, and our whole lives were transformed by the fact that we had a new kidney. And I'm going to say this, and it's probably so inappropriate in a service. There was no better sound than to hear my husband pee. That was the best sound in the whole world, to hear him be able to go to the bathroom on his own, something that I hadn't heard in years. And I can't tell you what a gift that is to hear that, and I can't tell you what a gift of life it is to be a transplant patient. It's someone, I'm not sure if Julio has said this, but someone said that it's not a cure. There is no cure. But it is the best possible thing that can happen to you. And my husband, for the next 10 years, was able to coach our kids' baseball games, was able to go to work, was able to, we were able to go on vacation, we were able to get back to normal lives of socializing, which so much of that we fell out of because we just couldn't always be there either because of dialysis or because he wasn't well. So like I said, for 10 years we had a really good life. It is truly a blessing to be able to have a donor. Live donors today are so much better. I mean, people are still on lists for non-living donors, and that is an alternative. But having a live donor, there's nothing like it. It comes sooner. It may keep your kidney longer. There are so many advantages to it. God blessed each one of us with 2 kidneys, and you can live with 1. And so it is a gift of life to be able to have. It changes your family. It allows you to live again. It allows you not to be hooked up to a machine 3 times a week if you are in clinic, 6 times a week if you do it at home. It is an unbelievable gift. So I just want to close and say thank you very much for listening tonight. And if you or anyone else should have any questions, I am presently sitting on the Kaiser Permanente Regional Nephrology Patient Advisory Council. I also sit with a group of peer-to-peer, which means what we do is that if somebody is starting a kidney journey, or for me, for caregiving, we are matched with peers that maybe we can help through their journey from their beginning, from the diagnosis on, because we've all been in that position at one time or another. And I can speak, Bill was on every modality of kidney dialysis, every single modality, so I can speak to any of those too if any of you should have any questions. And if you do and I can't answer it, and neither of these brave women can answer it, I can get the answers for you. Okay, and I thank you very, very much for listening tonight and giving us the opportunity to share this with you. It's a very important subject. So thank you very much, and Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you so much, Linda. Really appreciate it. Thank you truly so much for all of you for sharing your words, your experiences, and the challenges that you're living through, the challenges and hopefully the blessings to come. There is sometimes a misconception that Jews shouldn't be donors, right? This idea that people should be buried with all of their organs, right? The truth of the matter is, the Reform movement, the conservative movement, the Reconstructionist movement, and we're moving toward the Orthodox movement as well, saying that actually kidney donation is a complete and total mitzvah. Why? Because the highest value in Judaism has always been pekuach nefesh, saving a human life. So whether we sign up as becoming an organ donor for when we're no longer around to use our organs, or we're able and healthy enough to be a kidney donor, these are things that are so very much uplifted by our tradition. Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer offers this quote that one who saves a single life, it's as if he saved the entire world. Why? Because it does save an entire world, family and friends who have their lives transformed, just as Linda spoke about, right? And the whole world of the person who needed that donation. I want to also just let you know, inside of these handouts that you have, there is an insert that has information in there, and there'll be opportunities to find out a little bit more at Oneg as well. But right now, let us turn our attention to our Misha Berach prayer, our prayer for healing. And as I go around the room, I invite you to say aloud the name of anyone who is in need of healing of mind, healing of body, or healing of spirit. And all of you online, I invite you to write into the chat the name of anyone for whom you'd like to offer this prayer.
Wendy Waterman, Robin Gregson, Diane, Jerry Green, Jody Davidson, Pat Wade, Carol Zeifman.
Ray Murphy, Pam Tarlow, Bonnie Leopold, all kidney patients, all who are ill, Pat Wade, Calla Paul, Emmett Paul, Lisa Adams, Joshua Strock, Ray Murphy, Valerie McPherson, Pam, Bonnie, Ray, Jennifer Hamburg-Roski, Kelly, Kristen, Nicole, Pam Tarlow, Linda Fox, Josh Strock, Harriet Einhorn, John Wood, and a friend's dad, Sonny, Susie, Cassie Felberg, Josh Montgomery, Mary Gleesberg, Bonnie Leopold, Pam Tarlow, Daniel, Ray, Peter Willens, Carol Kruger, Bart, Mark Hegenmacher, Ray Murphy, Steve Gordon, Christy Langus, and Elliot Vickers. For everyone whose names we've said out loud and everyone whose names we hold silently in our hearts, let us offer these Misha Barach prayers. We begin with a prayer on the inside back cover of our prayer book for those who endure chronic conditions. God of our mothers and fathers, watch over all who live with genetic disorders, life-threatening medical conditions, and chronic or degenerative diseases. Bless them with endurance and resilience, fortitude and hope, with opportunities to thrive and shine even as their conditions progress. Watch over them, their families and friends, our community, and all of humankind. We pray for the wisdom and insight to see each member of our community with clear eyes and an open heart, as another human being, a whole person with hopes and dreams, proud of who they are, striving to be their best selves, struggling with this life and loving it too, as we all do. Rock and shelter, grant us all the ability to see each other's humanity clearly, to cherish each other's individuality, to care deeply about one another, to mourn our losses and celebrate our victories together, so that we live, act, and pray as one community of care and blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamechin metzadei gaver. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who strengthens our steps.
Beautiful new Misha Barach. You'll find it on the back of your handouts. El narefanala, Misha Barach avoteinu, El narefanala, El narefanala, Misha Barach imotenu. Grant us refuah shlema. Grant us refuah shlema. May the source of healing renew our body, renew our
I invite you to rise one more time as we place our Torah back in the ark. Page 374.
בה ותומכיה מאושר דרכיה דרכי נועם וכל נתיבותיה שלום השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה חדש חדש ימינו חדש ימינו כקדם.
You may be seated. In just a moment, we will conclude our service with prayers of memory. But before we do, I just want to let you know a couple of quick things. One is that right after the service, we have a beautiful oneg in the next room. And all of our speakers have offered to answer any questions that you might have. So we have something set up that we can do that. And please think about anything that you might want to ask them, whether in a more public setting or in a more private setting. And just again, a huge, huge note of gratitude for all of you for speaking tonight, for sharing such important stories on such an important subject. Right now, we turn to the end of our service as we remember people who have died in recent weeks and months. We remember Captain Alice Weiss, Peter Samrath Yang, Rochelle Lewis, and Kristen Kamagawa. We also are mourning people whose yahrzeit it is this week. Leanne Abramowitz, Salik Abramowitz, Charles Abramson, Isidore Almus, Clara Arnosh, Georgette Belsky, Herman Bernstein, Michael Burney, Eliakim Cohen, Jenny Cohen, Richard Cohn, Victor Cohn, Michael Colton, Menachem Mendel Davidson, Sylvia Davis, Morris Ferdman, Joan Siegel Fogel, Ruth Friedman, Vilma Halaj, Barbara Hersmark, Harry Jacob, Sylvia Kaplan, Kurt Kent, Dave Kaufman, Jacob Kruger, Louis Leibowitz, Joel Leibowitz, Stanley Lieberman, Paula Loveman, Helene Lurie, Leah Manuel, Alfred Marks, David Martin, Melvin Moskowitz, Ernie New, Alex Paul, David Hananel Pariah, Joseph Pollack, Leo Rosen, Isaac Rutenberg, Doris Rowe, Betty Rubin, Manuel Rudy, Alexander Schechter, Bertha Schultz, David Silver, Ida Patskol, Sarah Solmander, Pauline Spector, Francine Fran Taylor, Flora Victor, Paul Wachs, Milton Wallace, Max Willens, Helen Wilson, Ethel Weiner, and Gussie Zinner. In memory of all the people whose names we've said out loud and all the people whose memories we hold in our hearts, let us rise as one community on page 598 as we offer the mourner's Kaddish prayer together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'amad yivrach chirotei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chai yechon u'vyom echon, u'v'chayei d'kol beit Yisrael, ba'gala u'v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach Le'olam Olamei Amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudisha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata damiram v'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. Zichronam livracha, may all of their memories be for a blessing. And together let us say,
Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. I invite you into the next room for Oneg. For all of you online, thank you so much for being here. Shabbat shalom. And a huge thank you to Bob Remstein as well for bringing so much beautiful music to our service.